Hi everyone and welcome back. So it is summertime and we have our own vegetables growing in our garden. And one of the vegetables that we grow are zucchini and squash. They come on during the summer, and usually when they start to produce, we can keep up with them. But then once they really start to produce, it's every effort that we have to ensure that we are maximizing the usage of our zucchini and our summer squash without getting burnt out on it. Inevitably, every gardener experiences the challenge of going out to pick a zucchini or squash that looks about like this. It's nice, it's meaty. When you cut into it, it has little seeds in it that are easy to work with. For me, this is the desirable size. And then you see one like this and you're like, oh, I'm going to let it go one more day. And you go back out the next day and it ends up like this. So when I'm cooking and using recipes where I'm making fresh squash and I'm going to eat it just plain or sauteed with some other vegetables, I like it like this instead of like this. And when it turns out like this, it's a little bit too big. And so then you find yourself saying, what am I going to do with all of this squash, all of this zucchini? There's only so many times I can make zucchini bread. There's only so many times that I can scoop it out and stuff it and have stuffed zucchini or stuffed squash. Well, today I'm going to teach you a way to make a zucchini crisp. And I kid you not, your friends, your family, and even you yourself will not have any way to tell or identify that it's not apples. This zucchini crisp literally tastes like apple crisp, but it's a little bit healthier for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we need to do for this recipe is we need to prepare our zucchini or our summer squash that we're going to utilize. Now, you're going to need enough zucchini or squash to produce 8 cups of prepared squash or zucchini. That's a lot of squash or zucchini. So that's another reason why I really like this recipe, is because we're going to be able to work down a lot of our oversized squash. So to prepare this, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and peel your zucchini or squash. Now I'm peeling this directly over a bowl because I'm going to give these peelings to our chickens and it's going to serve as a nice treat for them. Now, once your squash has been peeled, you're going to go ahead and grab a knife. Just go ahead and cut off both the ends like that. And then you're going to slice it in half. Okay. And that's going to allow you to see the center section here that has all of the varying seeds. Okay. You're going to take a spoon and you're just simply going to scrape out those seeds, because that's not what we want to eat in this recipe. It doesn't have to be exact. You want to get most of them, but you don't have to get all of them. And do that to both sides. And then you're going to go ahead and turn your squash over. And we're going to go ahead and slice our squash in about 1/4 inch slices. And what you start to end up with is slices that look like apple slices. Now, as they get bigger here, you can cut it in half again. and then continue to slice. And you're going to keep going and repeat this process with all the zucchini and squash you have until you get about 8 cups worth. All right, so I'm halfway there with just that one. I'm going to take that and pour it directly into a saute pan. And keep going until I get 8 cups. All right, so we have 8 total cups of squash in our saute pan. Now I brought the saute pan over to the stovetop to go ahead and start cooking the squash. To our squash, we're going to add 3/4 cup of lemon juice. We're going to cover it and we're going to cook it on medium heat, stirring occasionally until the squash is softened. It's going to take about 15 minutes. So while the zucchini squash is sauteing on the stovetop, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the topping that's going to go for the crisp part of the zucchini crisp. The first thing that I need to do is I need to go ahead and cube my softened butter. So I've got 2/3 of a cup of softened butter. If you've ever seen me cube butter before, I like to retain the wrapper. Helps me turn the butter as I cube it. And then this is just always another process that I have. I always like to make my crisp toppings in a Ziploc bag. One, because I can make it ahead of time and I can seal it off and have it be airtight. But two, it's also easy cleanup once I'm done. So for our crisp topping today, we're going to go ahead and take brown sugar. You can use light brown sugar or dark brown sugar. Dark brown sugar is going to give you a deeper, darker taste. I think it tastes a little bit better with dark brown sugar, but whatever you have, you can use. We're going to use 1.5 cups of brown sugar. So I'm going to add that to my gallon Ziploc bag. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of old-fashioned oats. Just put it right on in. We're going to add 1 cup of flour. And then before I add the butter, I'm just going to go ahead and seal this real quick. Give it a little bit of a mix. Get any lumps in the brown sugar out. And I'm simply going to dump my cubed butter right on in. And again, I'm just going to seal it back on up. And I'm going to mix it around until all of the cubes of butter are separated apart and coated with the crumb topping. So not too much mixing and my crumb topping is ready to go. Okay, so 15 minutes has passed and you can see that the squash is just starting to get tender. So now we're ready to add in 1/2 cup of sugar. And then to this, we'll go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now, if you're not a big fan of nutmeg, you can add less. If you like it a lot, you can add more. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now, I love cinnamon, so I'm going to add 2 heaping teaspoons of cinnamon. And we're going to stir that around and mix it in until all of the sugar has been dissolved and mixed in. That'll take just a couple minutes for it to all work itself in. See, all those nice spices are coating the squash nicely. Now, this mixture will be very liquidy, and you're gonna think that this is a flop recipe, but all of this liquid is absolutely okay. Your recipe did not flop. You are right on track. All right. My sugar has dissolved and all my spices have mixed in and incorporated. So now we're ready to go ahead and put it into our baking dish. So I have here a 10 by 10 baking dish. You could also use a 13 by 9. I prefer the 10 by 10 just because it's a little less surface area, so the crisp topping is a little bit thicker when it comes out. You're going to coat it with some cooking spray, or you could do a butter coating. And then you're going to pour your entire squash mixture, liquid and all, into the baking dish. Go ahead and spread your squash out evenly. Okay. And then you're going to take your crumb topping, and you're going to also go ahead and spread that out evenly. Now again, I like the Ziploc bag for ease of use. I can simply pour and try to evenly coat it that way with minimal adjustment. And I'll just use my hands and kind of make sure that every corner gets a little bit. All right, and into the oven this is gonna go. You're gonna put this into a preheated oven. Your oven should be preheated to 375 degrees, and you're gonna go ahead and bake it for 45 to 50 minutes. What you're gonna be looking for is that this crumb crisp topping is nice and golden brown on top, and you'll see the underside of the mixture giving a little bubble through that topping. So into the oven this goes, 375 for 45 to 50 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 50 minutes. You'll notice my topping's a little bit darker because I used dark brown sugar, and that is okay. You'll see this is exactly what you want to see, little bubbles coming through the topping, and that's how you know that it's ready. Now, we're not going to cut into this or eat this right away. It does need to set up, so you do want to let it cool a good 20 to 30 minutes before you go ahead and dig in. Okay, this has had a chance to cool for about 30 minutes. You can see the top has caramelized and it's become a thicker consistency, so it's had a chance to set up. Let's go ahead and give this a taste. Look at that. All that worry about it maybe being a flop, no flop at all. It is nice and thick and ready to absolutely enjoy. No one will ever know that this was zucchini and not apples because it is just absolutely yummy. We're going to go ahead and add a little scoop of ice cream to it. Not a lot, just a little bit, just to give it that good old feel. And So for a healthier take on apple crisp, a delicious dessert, and a way to use up those accidentally overgrown squash and zucchini. Hope you choose to make this recipe. That you choose to maybe fool yourself or fool a friend or two, because it's definitely worth it. Till next time.